There is also a veto if you wanted to veto, but looks like we're going into it. All these maps with a VP up on a cliff are generally good for the Warp Spider.
Yeah, I mean, this is I'm pretty sure it's got to be Hobbs' pick. I mean, it should be a counter pick for him, and I'm questioning it a little bit. It feels like a long map, and yeah, there's that cliff VP that will be pretty easy for the Warp Spider Exarch to just like traverse up and down the cliff with.
It is a long map, but all of as far as the rest of the map, all of your resource points are nice and close together. So you've got all the just the little, your 2 rec and your 2 power.
Yeah, that's
are right
true.
there
2
in front of
power,
your
2 rec,
base.
2 power.
The only real contested point is that contested power in the center, but everything else is mostly right there for you.
Yeah, it's pretty much only like 1 contested power and 1 contested VP. That's all that's really contested.
But that said, I mean, that can go, like, you could argue that then, because it is such a long way to the enemy's points, that the Warp Spider does have the advantage to that as well.
You also kind of get your choice of like which farm you want your natural on, like which of the like natural power nodes you actually want your farm on. Usually players seem to go for like the more southern ones. Usually.
Yeah, the ones on that side of the map, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like as the Western player, you normally go for that northern one. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you actually have like that choice of two naturals. I'm getting invites to play Dawn of War 2 Retribution.
Oh, you're a popular guy.
Don't they realize there's a tournament going on?
But yeah, let's see. So standard openings so far from both sides. We got the double ticks, we got the Banshees, probably followed up by a quick shuriken. But
So
Hobbs
the
actually
Banshees-
going straight for the power this time, not hesitating, just put some pressure right on, since he doesn't need to spread out. Like that's another thing that I feel like is more advantageous is when you don't have to spread out against Eldar, like to get map control. It's more to your advantage because you can, in these early stages, we can see right now that if Holy Hammer were to just move in on 2 ticks and Chaos Space Marines, he probably wouldn't be able to take that. So it's easier for...
Yeah, I mean, right now he's choosing not to engage. I think the Banshees would probably lose to double Heretics, like just that double Doom Blast, as well as just literally piling Heretic bodies on top of the Banshees. Will just get crushed under the weight of those Heretic bodies.
That said, Hammer still managed to get that Shuriken onto the field pretty quickly. Could actually flank, yeah, he's going to flank with the second squad of Heretics and keep that from getting an easy setup. Doesn't decide to chase it all the way home. Forced off the Dire Avengers as well, and now both players are just on the opposing side.
Right. The early game right now is actually looking quite a bit more even. We're seeing some nice use of the Worship to get a squad of Heretics in. I felt the Doom Blast could have been slightly earlier, but it doesn't end up mattering that much, and he still manages to force the Guardian weapon team off.
Yeah, it's always dicey because sometimes you can do that Doom Blast early, and then like a trailing model will hit the Doom Blast, and then you don't actually get the suppression from it.
True. It's very unfortunate sometimes.
So man, here we go. Oh, Raptors on the field, nice and quick, coming down to put some pressure on the, and managed to save that lone wreck point for himself. Actually goes ahead and nodes up the opposing gen farm right there. Banshees can go back there and bash it, but it's a shame to have to pull your Banshees back just to deal with that node. But there's really not much else that Eldar has.
Yeah, it's a commitment of time. So that's time when the Banshees won't be out on the field to engage things. And right now he's actually not choosing to do that, so the trade-off is that he's not actually getting power for a while from his natural power node, and instead Hobbs is.
Hobbs needs to get those Raptors out to somewhere. There he goes. He pulls the Raptors in, pops the power node back there. And looking pretty good for Hobbs, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. Just can't count him out yet.
So Warp Spider's still staying on the field as much as he can, trying to bleed Heretics all over the place. Those
Doom
Warp
Bolts
Spider
go in.
Death Spinners.
Bit of a miss with the Doom Bolts. Didn't really hit quite head on either the Banshees or the Dire Avengers.
But Holy Hammer's sitting on a huge pile of requisition at this point.
Oh
So,
man. You're
yeah,
right.
he'll be able to build up at least one power farm as soon as he's ready. Doesn't want to commit to that central one, obviously, but Banshee's now hopping all over the place. Hobbs, since he has been popping so many nodes, actually sitting on a small pile of requisition. Not sure if he was intending on getting anything else at this stage in the game for Tier 1, but
He is getting the Sword of Flame, which is not a bad choice. It can work out pretty well. It really does substantially increase the damage that he does. Even though if you actually look like at the damage stats, it doesn't look that big initially, but it's still an increase over the default, and then he gets the damage over time.
yeah, the dot
So
ability
it
really
does
comes into
make a
play.
difference, especially against these not too strong like Eldar models.
Sorcerer teleports in, negates the first shuriken. Injured Rappers jumping in on the second one. Banshees actually, fortunately though, aren't there to support. Not sure if he was aware of that or not. I guess he did assume that they were still over there capping that point, so that was a relatively safe jump. But had Banshees been lying in wait, that would have cost him at
Wow,
least a single
Hobbs is
model.
now looking good. I mean, he's got actually most of the map now. He's the one with the commanding map control. Still has control of Holy Hammer's natural power node.
Yeah, he just needs to
And
get
has
some
it
just needs to get some requisition together so he can start dropping a couple generators and getting a lead on the tech.
At this point, I'm wondering if it might be worth it for Holy Hammer to just put a full gen farm on the one power node that he has. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, he drops all 3 generators. It's going to take him a while since he doesn't have those Banshees to break that node
It's
again.
good to know that I actually know what I'm talking about when good players actually do what I think is right. Because I think he doesn't want to lose out on the power income for too long, and he has the requisition to spend.
Yeah, I feel like there's no reason he shouldn't have to do that. Like he's been indirectly bleeding Hobbs by killing all these nodes that Hobbs has been popping, and I don't know. Like I definitely understand the time commitment it costs there, but ooh, grenade not quite connecting. I thought that
Still
might have
gets
been
model,
it.
though. I think just because it was such a weak model that it was caught like at the
Yeah.
end of the blast radius. We are talking about heretics right here. But yeah, I mean, I was, you know, I feel like we're seeing Holy Hammer actually not at a tech disadvantage, despite not having one of his natural power nodes and Hobbs having it. But Hobbs he didn't really put generators down until very recently.
Yeah, he spent so much requisition on the nodes that he's been putting up that he hasn't really been able to either get a superior army on the field or get his generators up. So, but I mean, that being said, he's still been controlling the map well. He's still been causing some pretty reasonable bleed. Sorcerer might be overextending a little bit here.
Oh,
Hopefully he's paying
he might go
attention.
down
Oh,
here.
that was...
This is a really close call.
Oh, but he's dropping...
I knew he was going to do
nice.
that. Summon a squad of heretics, try to cover his retreat, even actually gets... Wow,
Wow, where was that
manages to
sorcerer
turn that
going?
into a winning engagement.
That was the weirdest retreat path I think I've ever seen. Like, he thought he could go down between those rocks and then turn back around and went up. That was bizarre. Luckily, it didn't cost him the hero.
Teleporting the heretics with the warp global. It's something I don't think it's seen as much, but it is actually a very useful thing with the sorcerer, teleporting heretics with the warp global.
Oh,
You can use that to save yourself in engagements, use it to wipe squads in retreat. Very, very useful.
Yeah, it's such a like in such a positioning based game, like being able to call a squad to anywhere, especially with the way the melee mechanics work in this game, is hugely useful.
And I think also specifically with heretics having Doom Blast, it really makes them not just a melee squad, but it makes them this defensive screen that has an area of effect explosion ability that's very useful in like just controlling engagements.
Both shurikens getting a pincer here on the 2 squads of Chaos Space Marines.
Is too good. Jumps the Raptors. They actually jump right into the firing arc. But there's also heretics behind that shuriken. This shuriken now in a bit of trouble.
Ooh, the knockback, that might have secured it, yeah.
I think it's going to go down. It's a close call,
Boom.
but he takes it out.
Yeah, that
Very
Aspiring
nice
Champion
play.
sword swing is actually pretty strong. Manages to deny even more power. Keeps the Banshees tied up. That's almost like been what has been worth putting up those nodes, is that it's been keeping the Banshees out of these melee scuffles.
I mean, Hobbs now actually looking like he is winning at this point in the game. He's winning. I mean, he hasn't won yet, but he is currently winning. So it's good to see him like really make those adjustments, stay in the game. When last game, Holy Hammer was really making it look like Hobbs was just not on his level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Hobbs had a chance to kind of bring it back that last game, but kind of whiffed in the mid-game there. Dreadnought's coming out on the field already. Holy Hammer is tier 2, so he'll be able to bring something out to deal with that. But as it stands, he's going to... Well, I guess Hammer's about to have 2 full gen farms, so he's going to be catching up pretty quickly. So long
yeah,
as
he's going to need that, and I think that should give him... pretty quickly give him some decent resources to get out like 2 tier 2 units. And I have a feeling one of them is going to be Warp Spiders.
Yeah, he's really been using those Warp Spiders well. Warp Spiders, I feel like, until recently, I feel like I hadn't seen people using them a lot recently.
Really?
But
because I feel like they're a very safe purchase for Eldar in Tier 2. They just really do a lot between being a very effective ranged unit, just a high DPS ranged unit. They have the anti-vehicle grenades, so they're part of like your anti-vehicle response team. And then of course the teleporting is good for map control, good for flanking. There's so much utility in one squad.
Yeah, no, they're a great squad, but which is why I had been surprised that for a while I feel like I wasn't seeing people use them much.
Instead, we're seeing the Wraithlord out, at least first, and I don't disagree with that. I think the Wraithlord is also, like, usually, actually, when I go into Tier 2 as Eldar, usually I'm looking at either a Wraithlord or Warp Spiders as my first purchase out of Tier 2.
Yeah, both very solid units, and just with the composition of...
Oh my! Wow, Oh, they didn't take damage because of the energy shield.
No, they were up close
absolutely
enough.
Amazing. Because a lot of those heretic models got hit.
Yeah.
And I was wondering why they didn't take damage, but it was because of the energy shield.
Yeah, if they were up close enough on that energy shield to be considered in the cover, they'll take none of that grenade damage.
Energy shield worked out in Hobbs' favor, which I don't think actually makes sense. I feel like you throw a grenade into cover.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, the energy shield mechanics are a bit odd, but that's how they work.
Of course. We are talking about like coding and stuff rather than like, real life. So not everything translates.
Raptors upgraded with their aspiring champion as well. We're looking to mess with some Banshees.
The Khorne Dreadnought. The Khorne Dreadnought is really like, I don't know.
I think he should do his best to keep that undercover until.
Is that an expression like ace in the hole or
something?
Yeah,
no, that's
something
legit.
like that. Like that's. Yeah, it's definitely one of the sorcerer's big things.
Since he does have that teleport ability, you
of course,
you can just overextend that and use the Blood Rage without worry of it going down.
All Chaos heroes can use this Dreadnought, and it can be powerful for all of them, but it can be much more all-in for the other heroes if you don't use it properly. Whereas the sorcerer just has it's just a lot less risky with the sorcerer, to be honest.
Ooh, a pretty critical special attack there, allowing the sorcerer to get out of there.
Well, he also manages to teleport out of there, so he's all right. But man, this game actually looking way more even. The VPs are even. Both players with sizable armies. Holy Hammer looking like he could potentially get another unit out. No, he's a little low on requisition.
Yeah, that said, though, he's been doing a good job of bleeding Hobbs, though, and keeping, like, every time he decaps those rec points, that's a lot more rec.
Yeah, one thing that's really, really tough for Hobbs right now is if you look at his requisition income.
Yeah.
And I think that's a factor of both upkeep as well as constantly getting his requisition points decapped. If I look at his natural requisitions, one is uncapped, the other one is only at +10 because it needs to remature.
So here comes the Warp Spider play.
+30. All right, he's making a play. And very smart by Hobbs to activate the Blood Rage right after the Haywire goes off, or right before the Haywire goes off, rather.
Right.
Because that gives him a damage reduction while the Dreadnought is otherwise defenseless, and he can't activate the Haywire while the Dreadnought
Banshees
is immobilized.
Taking lots of losses.
I don't even know what they're doing there. They get way countered by a Khorne Dreadnought.
It's fortunate that earlier on there that the Raptors got forced off.
With Havoc, but the Wraithlord is outside of the Havoc's firing.
Yeah, he was a bit too quick with that teleport. He needed to get a slightly better position there to get that Havoc.
That's a powerful tactic, and people definitely complain about it. I can tell you personally that there's a lot of setting up and micro that goes into teleporting like an anti-vehicle team, especially like a setup team, to go for those plays. You really need to position it correctly. If the vehicle you're targeting like actually moves, you need to like reposition your Havoc when it's not even in the engagement.
Right.
It's actually very tricky to pull off.
Because and does it teleport facing the same direction that it was facing previously?
Yes.
So yeah.
So you need your facing correctly and everything. Positioning, and there are a lot of times if you don't do it properly, you spend the red and then achieve nothing. Like if you don't do it properly. Like there have been times when I've teleported a Havoc, I did not have my arc right, and then it literally did nothing.
Yeah, so as it stands now, Hobbs and Hammer looking pretty even on the field, but Hammer has the... Oh, well, I was getting ready to say, Hammer does have the resources to either go tier 3 or bring us another squad out, and he's going to have double Warp Spiders.
I mean, there are definitely a lot of things that could work here. He's got the double Haywire. I think it would even be good if he, like, split the Haywires, as in don't throw them both at once. Throw one, let it run its course, then throw the other one. Like, really... Keep the Dreadnought out of play, pretty much.
Exactly.
The Chaos Dreadnought really has the advantage over the Wraith Lord.
But yeah, all he needs is to get a shot or two with that las cannon, and he'll be good to go.
Although I think, Holy Hammer spending resources on something, replacing models maybe? I don't know. He just spent some resources somewhere. I didn't see where. Maybe on more Warp Spider upgrades.
Yeah, getting the second squad of Warp Spiders up to speed.
Because he's getting the next Haywire.
Yeah, having 2 Haywires now on the field is really going to make it difficult for this Khorne Dreadnought to really be used effectively, I think.
I was wondering if maybe he should get an Autarch to try to deal with the Havoc. But I mean, he can use the Warp Spiders actually to deal with the Havoc.
No, I mean, having 2 squads of Warp Spiders is a crazy amount of range damage. Oh my gosh!
They never stood a chance. I mean, I said before, the DPS of a squad of Warp Spiders is about 100 DPS piercing. That means if you've got 2 of them, you're looking at 200 DPS piercing from ranged. One of those Warp Spider squads off the field, though, even lost its Exarch.
Yeah, so they did. It was trying to get in that first Haywire grenade, but it didn't quite land.
Yep. And engagement actually looking like it's going to go in favor of Hobbs.
Yeah, I think so. Hobbs is in tier 3. Not sure what he's going to do in tier 3. I guess maybe save up for some Chaos Terminators. Chaos Terminators probably pretty excellent choice against double Warp Spiders.
Oh yeah, I mean the great thing about those Terminators, they will actually very hard counter the Warp Spiders, like very hard.
Like all of Holy Hammer's army primarily is just light infantry and piercing damage, so there's not a lot he can do against Terminators right now. He didn't go for either. He didn't get the Fire Dragons. He didn't get the Dark Reapers that we saw before. So. Oh, instead he's going for a Predator.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because he'd have to wait quite a while to get the red for Terminators.
Oh, that's true. I didn't recognize his red deficit.
When he's like not putting a unit out on the field that he could. And he's been using that red a lot to do the Sorcerer-specific tricks, the teleporting and stuff. Mostly the teleporting, when I say Sorcerer. So the Sorcerer-specific trick.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that if the Sorcerer is using red on that, you don't have to worry as much about Terminators coming onto the field. Look at these Warp Spiders just coming in, trying to cause some hurt.
The Tzeentch Chaos Screens, they actually already counter the Warp Spiders themselves.
Oh, no, they do. That Inferno damage is so rough.
I don't know if one squad counters 2.
Did they go down? They didn't go down.
They did. Wow. But I don't know if but there's the other Haywire. Very nice. Oh yeah, my god.
Look at those Warp Spiders just shredding infantry.
I was like about to say, like, man, maybe Hobbs is going to take this game, but now this is in a not so good position. It can get warped out. It can and should be warped out, so I'm not sure what Hobbs is waiting for.
Would it actually? It would be a close fight if those Banshees
unless it's on cooldown.
I don't think he's used the warp recently, though, has he? Yeah, I didn't think so.
I mean, if you see someone with the red to use warp and they're not, that might mean it's on cooldown. And there also have been times, you also have to watch that too, when the warp cooldown is not too short. And I will double check just to make sure I know exactly what the warp cooldown is.
The enemy attacks one of your structures.
But 188 to 353, and Hobbs still has plenty of time to try to seal this out, but losing that squad of Tzeentch Marines definitely puts it a little more in favor of Holy Hammer, because he now doesn't have a whole lot of range damage for this this force. Oh, and now we've got probably
It's a close
two.
call, especially if you can teleport in with another Haywire. That will probably be the end of the Predator.
Yeah,
and there, I think.
Oh no.
Yep. But warp global cooldown is actually 2 minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was either 90 or 120 seconds. I wasn't sure which.
Yeah, 120 seconds. So you do actually have to watch the cooldown on that.
Oh, that's
There-
always unfortunate when you see
So-
someone.
Also, definitely had times when I've not been able to warp something out because it was on cooldown. But man, Hobbs falling apart. I felt like this was his game to win.
No,
Or
I
his
felt
game
like
to-
a Predator. I felt like a Predator purchase might not have been super great. Like, well, I mean, he did overextend it. He had it out there when he knew there was 2 squads of Warp Spiders on the field. It's super unfortunate that he did that, because that thing should just not be out there unless it has at least 1 squad of infantry. Oh, there's that beautiful Warp Spider sync kill there.
Oh, I missed it, but yeah, that is definitely one of the best sync kills in the game. Probably the best. It's a close call, but there's also the Force Commander's Thunderhammer sync kill on the War Boss, if you've ever seen that one.
Oh, I think the Force Commander on the Carnifex is the best, with just the chain sword, where he like jumps in its mouth and shoves the chain sword in it. It almost never happens, because when are you gonna kill a
I'm actually not even
Carnifex?
sure if I've seen that. But
Yeah.
the Force Commander Thunderhammer on the War Boss is also definitely a contender. And Hobbs actually calls a GG.
Oh
So-
man, he
and
had
I feel
that
like-
one. He had it.
He was winning for like 90% of that game. But I mean, either way, that actually ended up being a very, very good game when the first game was like a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with going vehicle-focused play, is that those vehicles are like, just, you know, they're not going to bleed or anything, but if you lose them, that's the majority of the force of your army.
And
there.
especially like a lot of those vehicles, they're also like very, very big investments. Predators, dreadnoughts. The ones that are not as big of investments are like the transports, as well as like the Orc Walker, the that big stompy tin can, whatever it's called.
All right, well, I think what we're doing next is Twyla Lee versus Tex, so that should be a match